Now, before I get to this JavaScript feature that is probably going to save you a lot of pain, let's first discuss what problem it solves and why this is going to be a useful thing for you to know. So let's first look at what I have written on line kind of 20 here. So I just have a constant that is called original object, and this is going to be an object with two different properties, a names property and a frameworks property. And both of these properties are arrays. So I have nested arrays within an object here. And what if I want to create a copy of this original object and mutate it in some way? Well, let's go ahead and use object.assign to create a copied object here. So on line 25, I call the object.assign method, which is available globally, or at least this object here is available globally with the assign method. And then to create a brand new kind of copied object, I'm going to pass it an empty object as a first argument and my original object as a second argument. So it's basically going to assign all the properties and values of this original object to this empty object here, effectively creating a copied object. Now, object.assign, it is shallow copying this original object. So what I mean by that is if I go to this original object here, and let's just say I access the .names property of my original object, and let's push a new name to it, and let's push the value of Rust to it. And I'm using a tab 9 autocomplete feature, which is why it's giving me some of those suggestions there. But I'm going to push the name Rust to and I'm going to actually do it to my copied object. I'm going to do it to my names property, and I'm going to push the value of Rust. Let's console log my original object here. And I'm also going to console log my copied object right underneath it. And when I run this program and I run node deepcopy.js, what you're going to see is that both my original object right here and my copied object, those now have the value of Rust within my names array. So when I just pushed Rust to my copied object names array, it also pushed it to my original object names array. And the reason it did this is because this object.assign, it creates a shallow copy, meaning it creates a copy of the object, but arrays within this object, they're still going to reference the same array. Because I'm just creating a shallow copy of the object, the kind of nested deeper arrays, they still maintain the same reference to this original names array here. So it's not deeply copying this array. And you would run into the same thing if you were using the spread operator. So instead of object.assign, let me do a copied object, but let me do it with the spread operator. So I'm going to spread all the properties and values of the original object into this new object here. And if I push names to my copied object again, you're going to see that I get the same result. Rust is pushed to both my original object and my copied object. So this can definitely cause bugs within your program in which you might think that you're creating a copy of something and then just mutating that copy, but you're actually still referencing some of these more nested values within your copied object or array. And it also works with arrays, which I'll show you in a second. So how can you fix this? Well, JavaScript now has a new feature that is called structuredClone. And this is going to be a global function that is available to you. Now, you will be needing to I'm running on like the latest version of Node here. And I did need to upgrade my Node to the latest. I think I was on version like 15 before, and now I'm on version 18. So you might need to upgrade things to be able to use this, but you now have a global feature or a global function called structuredClone. And this is just going to be available to you within your JavaScript runtimes. And what this is going to do is it is going to create a deep copy of the value that you pass in. So I'm passing in my original object here, and it is now going to create a deep copy of that object, meaning even these arrays right here within my object, they are going to create copies of those arrays. So they're not going to reference the same arrays. So if I access my copied object now, but now my copied object is the return value of passing my original object into structured clone. If I mutate my copied object now and I console log both of my objects here, what you're going to see is that Rust, what I mutate, it is now only pushed to my names array of my copied object. My original object remains unchanged. So you can see the structured clone here, it is making a deep copy of my object. And as I said earlier, this works for arrays as well. So let me just show you with arrays. So const arr, and I will do an array of objects here in which I'll do name, or I'll do language is JavaScript, and I'll do another object and I'll do language instead of JavaScript. We'll do Python. So now I have my array, which has objects within my array. And if I create a copied array, well, let's first just do it with a spread operator. So I'm going to spread all of my values of my original array into my copied array. And what I'm going to do now is of my copied array, I'm going to access my 0th value. And then I'm going to say the language is now equal to, instead of JavaScript, let's reassign it to Rust. Okay. So in my copied array, I'm accessing this language and changing it to Rust. And if I console log my array as well as my copied array, you're going to see that when I just use the spread operator, it's going to change both of them to Rust right here. So it's going to mutate them both because it's just a shallow copy. But if I go back to using my structured clone and I pass in my array, and now I mutate my copied array, what you're going to see is that my original array keeps JavaScript right here, and my new one is Rust. So this is going to work for arrays, object, any kind of nested structure that you have. Okay, so this is one feature that can definitely help you prevent some of those bugs in which you're trying to copy these structured and nested objects and arrays, and can definitely save you some pain in the future. So that's all I got for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this helps you, and I will see you in that next one.